Welcome to our first practice video. Today we're going to start with something simple, so we're just going to do a simple outline. In this video I'm going to tattoo Courage the Cowardly Dog. He's an old cartoon character from a show that I used to watch as a kid, and the reason why I chose this specific image is because I believe that you should start with curved lines rather than straight lines, because they're easier to do, and this will help you get used to the tattooing process and to working off a stencil, which is very important, especially if you've never tattooed before. I'm going to be using a 9 round liner because I think that thicker lines work better for cartoon characters in particular. Now I'm just going to put a little bit of Vaseline on the skin just to reduce friction and to make cleaning a little bit easier. I'm going to dip my needle in the ink to load it up. And now I can just gently touch the paper towel just to get rid of that excess ink. Now I'm just going to find the angle that feels comfortable and I'm going to start pulling the line. I generally feel more comfortable lining vertically and pulling the line towards me. Some people prefer pushing the line and some people like to line from side to side, so there's no one correct way of doing it, it's all about what feels comfortable. So now I'm just going to move my hand a little bit just to get to that angle that I'm comfortable with. And once again, I'm just going to pull the line towards me. You're going to notice that I'm dabbing and not wiping, and the reason for that is that I want the paper towel to be absorbing the excess ink instead of smudging it when I'm wiping. Always remember to add a bit of Vaseline before pulling each line. Now I'm just going to move my hand and find that angle that I'm comfortable with. I don't want you to rotate the fake skin around to get a better angle, but instead I want you to change positions yourself, even if that means moving your chair around. There's no need to rush, so take your time getting used to the tattooing process. So dipping the needle, putting Vaseline on the skin before each line, getting comfortable with the machine, and dabbing with the paper towel. Once again, I'm gonna find my angle and start pulling the line towards me. And you don't have to pull the line in one pass, you can just break it up into smaller segments, so if you feel like your hand is cramping up or the angle is getting uncomfortable, just taper out of the line and start again. So again, dip the needle and put some Vaseline on. And this is the way I want to go. Once again, this just feels more comfortable to me, so I'm gonna pull the line towards me. I'm running my machine at 8.8 volts and the machine is a Cheyenne Solnova Unlimited 4.0. Okay, now I'm just gonna do the other part of the line. And once again, I'm gonna taper into the line, so I'm gonna start on the previous line. When you're lining, especially when you're doing cartoon characters or stuff like this, it's very important to make sure that your lines are connecting properly and that you don't leave any small gaps in between the lines. And like I said, it doesn't really matter whether you're lining a lot in one go or you're just breaking it up and doing smaller segments. What's important is that the tattoo looks good at the end of the session. For example, here I'm just going to start lining his arm and the fingers. And now I'm going to stop because I don't feel that comfortable pushing the needle up, so I want to pull it down towards me instead. Now I'm going to do his tail. Again, you can do this from any angle you want, but I'm just going to try to find the most comfortable position for my hand so I can line properly. And you're going to notice that I'm dabbing and not wiping. Now I'm going to come over from the other side and I'm just going to connect the lines here like this. Again, it's all about the end result. It's not really about how long it's going to take you or whether you line horizontally or vertically. That's entirely up to you. Now he's also got these two little spots on his back, so I'm going to go like this. And then I'm gonna go back over it. The reason why I'm doing this is just to give it a bit more thickness. If you don't feel comfortable going back over the line in the same pass, you can simply do another pass over it. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the head area. Now, I can just pull this entire line like this, or split it into smaller segments. You're gonna notice that the line's broken up where the eyebrow is, so we can just line this segment for now, and then connect it later. So I'm gonna start from the eyebrow, and I'm just gonna line this segment. Once again, it's very important to make sure that the lines are connecting properly and that you don't leave any gaps between the lines. You can push or pull, so get used to finding the position that allows you to line comfortably. I'm just going to do this little segment here. Gonna get some more ink. And again, I want you to get used to this whole thing, the whole process of putting Vaseline on the skin before each and every line. If you remember from the previous lesson, you shouldn't apply a lot of pressure when doing dots. You're also gonna notice how I pressed a lot harder and actually damaged the skin on this side. I'm just gonna get this little line here. And like I said before, curved lines are so much easier to handle for beginners especially. It's important to learn to follow the stencil and to stay on the line, so that should be your primary focus during these practice sessions. Because the nose looks like a triangle, I'm going to do it in 3 parts. I'm going to start here, and I'm just going to bring it up a little bit just to get out of that sharp angle and to make it easier to connect with the next line. I can pull it from this side or go on to the other side, so I'm just going to choose my angle and start the line. I'm going to go a bit into the previous line, and now the two are connected properly. Now this side I can just do in one pass, but I'm just taking my time with it. And now I'm going to do this bottom segment. Finally, we're going to do the top part of his nose. It's looking pretty good so far, so now we're going to do his other cheek. I'm going to do the whiskers first, just to get rid of those small little lines. Now again, I can do this from left to right or from right to left, it's entirely up to me. Or I can split it up and choose smaller segments as well, so we're just going to start from this whisker. You can always look for smaller elements that are breaking up the larger lines, and you can segment your lines into smaller ones just to make it easier to tattoo. Make sure that you give the needle enough time to create good saturated lines. It's also crucial to keep a steady hand and to apply the same amount of pressure throughout the tattoo. Now when it comes to doing the eyes, you're going to see that they're also split into 2 different segments. So we're just going to do this first line. And then all I have to do is bring the other line down as well, connecting them. Now I'm going to do the same for the other eye. You're going to notice that I let this line go because I felt like my hand was cramping up a little bit, so I just want to change the angle to a more comfortable one. Once again, it doesn't really matter which direction you're lining from, as long as it feels comfortable to tattoo. Now we've got these little segments here which we didn't connect last time, so we're just going to do those and then we're going to do the eyebrows. Because the eyebrows are a little bit thicker on one side, what I'm going to do is stay on the upper line. Then I'm going to go back on the line on the thinner part and diverge and go right next to the first line where it gets thicker. So it's kind of like having two lines next to each other, if that makes sense. So once again, I'm pulling the line. Then I'm going back over it, and then I'm splitting off and making it thicker. Now because these two don't connect properly, I'm just going to bring this up a little bit just to get rid of that gap. Next we're going to do the pupils, and you can see that there's a little gap in there, which is the shine in his eyes. So what I'm going to do is line around that little gap. It's kind of like drawing the number 0. And then I'm just going to color in about 2/3 from the bottom up. Once again, just going to line around the gap, and then I'm going to color in the bottom half or more. So now when you wipe it, you're going to be able to see that nice little shine in his eyes. I think we just have to do the ears, and then we're pretty much done. Once again, I'm finding that comfortable angle, pulling the line towards me and going all the way to the head. I'm gonna get some more ink, put a little bit more Vaseline, then pull the line again. Okay, so this is almost done. Just gonna do this darker part as well. Now we're gonna do the same for his left ear. This one's shaped a little bit different, so I'm just gonna start with this part over here. And now we're gonna do the rest of it. Once again, I'm finding that angle that I'm comfortable with, and then I'm just gonna start on the other line and bring it down a little bit just to make sure that they're connecting properly. And this one goes over the top line of his head a little bit as well. Okay, so that's the outline done, but now it kind of looks like something's missing, so I'm also going to color in a bit of black in his ears and nose. Again, make sure that the lines are connecting properly. Sometimes because the stencil is stuck on the fake skin permanently, it's gonna make it a little bit harder to see what you're doing, but it's not really that bad once you get used to it. And once you start tattooing real human skin, the stencil is going to come off a lot easier. I'm gonna clean this real quick just to get rid of any excess ink or staining, and now it looks pretty good. But I still think there's something that we can do just to improve it a little bit, so we're just gonna add a little bit of solid black, as much as we can without damaging the fake skin. So what I'm gonna do is grab my 9 round liner, and I'm just gonna start to shade in some color using these micro movements up and down, while also moving from side to side. I'm doing my best not to damage the fake skin, because when it comes to packing with liners, fake skin isn't the best medium for it, and it's very easy to cut it or damage it permanently. So just gently brush it in, don't apply a lot of pressure, and even if you don't get full saturation, that's perfectly fine, because this is just practice, so we're just trying to get used to working with the needle and following the stencil. Now I'm going to do the same for the other ear, just going over it gently with these small micro movements. And make sure that you're trying to stay within the shape. Normally on real skin this is much easier to do because real skin is softer and it saturates a lot quicker. But I still think you should try it on fake skin as well, even if you end up damaging it, because you're still going to learn a lot of what to do and what not to do. I'm just going to color in the spots on his back as well, and once again I'm not applying a lot of pressure, just gently brushing it in. Finally, I'm going to try and do the same for his nose, even though this is a larger surface, so it might take a bit longer to saturate. Okay, well that's not too bad actually. Once again, if you want good saturation, it's important that you take your time with it, and a good rule is to keep the needle constantly moving. If you're going to spend more time on one spot, or you're going to suddenly stop in one place, then that bit is going to get substantially darker than the rest. So if you want to get good compact saturation, I recommend just keeping the needle moving. Now I'm just going to try and brush this line here just to make it a little bit more straight. I think this looks pretty cool. Just going to give it another quick wipe. When you're cleaning your fake skin, you can always use a bit of Vaseline. There's no need for green soap, especially if you're using this brand called Real Skin, which is a better quality one. Okay, so I just noticed that these are not properly connected, so I'm just going to do a quick little pass over them. I'm going to do the same for this line as well. Like I said, sometimes the stencil might trick you, so you might need to do another pass over some bits. And I think we're done. Now, like I said before, you don't have to do the same design that I did, but I recommend keeping it simple and maybe doing something quite similar. So maybe like a cartoon character or a video game character. It doesn't really matter whether it's Pikachu or Mario, but try to do something fun and familiar and just stick to the outline. And this is the end result. I think it's pretty good for our first tattoo, so congratulations.